Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And guys, I'm super excited. This is not just a video about my favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. This is a draft review video about my favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. So that's my two favorite things, the draft and my team, the Dolphins. So I couldn't be more excited to talk about this. I'm going to be a little bit critical. I'm going to be a little bit hopeful, a little bit too fan-like. So just be prepared for all the emotions in this one. It's going to be fun. Before I get started, I do want to say I am doing a draft review on every single team. I am just recording them back to back to back right now. It is 6 a.m. right now, and I am not waking up early, just so you know. So I am going to get them out over the next 3 or 4 days. So please, if you don't see your team on the channel now, just hit subscribe and then come back the next day and it'll probably be there. All right, guys, let's get started. First things first, I do have 3 guidelines that I look at when I talk about a team's draft, right? Just very generalized things that I want to see every single team do because I think it's important for success. First thing, is there an obvious plan that I can point to for every team's draft? And for the Dolphins, there absolutely was. The Dolphins came into this draft class needing to upgrade offensive line, defensive line, and secondary. Those were the 3 things that I can point to as the main thing they needed to face. Yes, they got a quarterback with the first pick. That's not really what I'm talking about. The quarterback is almost the plug and play player. We focus on that a lot, but in this video, I'm not going to harp on it too much. I will talk about it when we get to that, but I'm not going to harp on it too much. What I'm far more interested in is did you add assets to other parts of your team that were suffering? And for the Dolphins, they could have gone a lot of different directions because they weren't that good of a football team. And what they did, in my opinion, was build up the 2 most important positions in football: offensive and defensive line. To me, that is how you build a team. They were building their team through the trenches, and I think that is so important. I am incredibly excited for what they did, and we're going to get into it. And the next question is, did your team draft an offensive lineman in the first 4 picks? Yes, they absolutely did. Multiple. Let's move on. And the last question is, did your team attack the strength of the draft? And for this draft, the strength of the draft is wide receiver, of course, and the Dolphins did that with their very last pick. They got a wide receiver out of Navy. I don't know if that counts. I think maybe it shouldn't, but technically they attacked the value of the draft. Maybe that Navy kid would have gone in the 6th round. I don't know. I hadn't watched him, and I watched a lot of receivers. All right, guys, so let's get into the actual picks. And just so you guys know, I only do the first 3 rounds. I'm only going to focus on the guys that I think are immediate starters. And this is going to be a little bit of a longer video because the Dolphins had a lot of picks in the first 3 rounds. All right, so the pick that everyone probably already knows about, with the number 5 pick in the NFL draft, the Dolphins take Tua Tagovailoa, and I never really learned his last name, and I think I'm going to have to now because obviously he's my quarterback. Quarterback out of Alabama. This is obviously very well publicized. They're definitely injury concerned. I personally, if you watch some of my videos, you can go back and see that I have had questions about his playmaking ability. I think he's a very, very good quarterback. I think he's very good decision maker, very accurate player. I question the elite upside, and what I mean is elite upside. I think he can be a very, very good starter, and I do mean that. My question was always, does he have that elite upside to be one of the top 5 players in the game? And to me, no, I don't see that in him, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we got a very good player on our hands, a very good quarterback. The real question is he going to be able to stay healthy? And I question that. He's kind of a leaner guy. To me, the story of this pick is their incredible pre-draft handling of this pick. There was a world where the Dolphins could have handled this poorly and had been forced to trade up. Instead, the Dolphins were Guantanamo Bay. there was nothing getting out of Miami. No one knew for sure what the Dolphins were doing. And right up to the beginning of the draft, there were rumors that they were taking Justin Herbert at 5. They were not going to trade up. There were rumors that they were going to trade up. There was every single rumor. Nobody knew what to believe. I, as a Dolphins fan, somebody who followed it very, very close. I am absolutely not an insider by any means, but I read pretty much everything that comes out of Miami. I hear everything that comes out of Miami. So I'm pretty in touch with what's going on. And I believed we were going Justin Herbert. I think a lot of people did. So I was a little bit surprised by the Tua pick. I wasn't shocked, obviously, because I knew there was really no way to know. It was all hearsay. It was all smokescreen, and they handled it really well. So I think they deserve credit for that. And in a position where the Lions were actively trying to sell the third round pick, they were actively trying to drum up interest throughout this process. There were talks of, maybe the Redskins are going to go 2 at 3. Maybe the Lions would consider Redskins would consider 2 at 2. Maybe the Lions would consider 2 at 3. Maybe the Chargers would trade up. No, the Dolphins stood strong. They played their cards perfect. The only thing they weren't able to do was trade up for Joe Burrow, which was a rumor that I 100% believe, by the way. But again, could have been a smokescreen, I guess. Don't know why it would have been. But I think they played that very well. With their second pick in the first round, number 18, they take Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of USC. And I was a little surprised by this solely because that was the guy who was always mocked to the Dolphins. And I mean, that was a guy that I mocked to the Dolphins. That was a guy that I saw mocked to the Dolphins so many times that I just believed it was impossible that it could actually work out that way. And it did. Austin Jackson, I think, was the clear number 5 tackle in this class. And you could argue which order you would put the top 4, but everyone kind of knew Austin Jackson was the 5th. I think he's a little bit of a project, and that's a little bit of a scary thought for the Dolphins, who they're gonna need him to start right away. There's no doubt about it. But it is a little bit of a reach because of necessity, and that's just kind of what they had to do. Because if you watch the Dolphins play at all, which hopefully you didn't, because that's no fun. You know that they needed help at offensive line above anything else. With their 30th pick in the first round, and this was actually a trade that I'm going to talk about later. I was a big fan of this trade. Not as much a big fan of the pick. Noah Igabanahi. I don't know. You can read the name. It's on the screen right now. I don't know how to say that name. Cornerback out of Auburn. The co-host of the Between the Pylons podcast, Jacob Waters, hated this pick. So check out the podcast this week. I'm sure he's going to absolutely rail this pick. I was very surprised. I had not watched Noah, mainly because I was assured by Jacob, somebody whose football opinion I do trust. He watches every Auburn game because he's a diehard Auburn fan, and said that Noah was not a very good player. I think his exact words were poopy. So I didn't really watch him. He wasn't really on my radar. I didn't expect him to be anywhere near the first round. And then of course he goes number 30 to my Dolphins. That was surprising for 2 reasons. One, the Dolphins have the most expensive secondary in sports, with the number 1 highest paid corner and number 2 highest paid corner. So the fact that they're going to take another cornerback at 3 was a little bit surprising to me. The reason it shouldn't have been surprising is because the most important position on that defense is the secondary. The Dolphins are building their team the way the Patriots built their team for so many years, and that is a premium on the secondary. Granted, the Patriots probably wouldn't have the amount of high dollars going to the cornerback position, but the Dolphins had the money to spend, so why not spend it, right? So as far as this pick for the Dolphins, they took a very good press corner that played at a very high level in the SEC. Yes, he struggled at times against some of the top talent in the SEC, but there's a lot of guys you can say that about. He played the type of position, press corner, where when you miss really, really bad. And what I mean by that is when you're playing press corner and you get beat, it shows up on any screen very, very easily, and you can definitely find that from time to time. But overall, I really liked his tenacity. I like him as a nickel corner. I think he's going to fit in really well. The thing is, he was drafted in the first round, and a lot of times that would mean, oh, you're expected to be one of the top 2 corners. No, you're not. Noah's coming in. He's going to get to be the nickel corner. I think that's going to be a great spot for him. I think he can excel there. I'm very excited about that pick. With their first pick in the second round, the Dolphins do take Robert Hunt, guard out of Louisiana, which is just another pick that they had to make, taking a guard there. They didn't need just one offensive lineman. They needed multiple. So I think that was a must-have pick for the Dolphins. With their second pick in round 2, and I am just going to touch on the origins of this pick just because I think it's really cool and I'm kind of a nerd like that. This is the pick that they got for the Saints for trading back. What they did is they traded back in the second round last year and gave up a 4th round pick and earned a 2nd round pick in this year's draft. So the Saints were able to move up in the 2nd round and get a 4th round pick, and all they had to give up in return was a 2nd round pick in this year's draft. The reason that's so cool is because the Dolphins were going to trade a 2nd round pick to the Arizona Cardinals for Josh Rosen no matter what. So what the Dolphins were essentially able to do was get Josh Rosen for free, basically. They were able to trade back because that 2nd round pick was going to the Cardinals either way. It just wasn't official yet. They were able to trade back in the 2nd round, still send that pick to Arizona because Arizona didn't really have any other suitors, and get Josh Rosen. Now, granted, that really hasn't worked out very well, but as far as draft capital and creating value in the draft, I mean, you can't beat that. They essentially got a quarterback for free in the draft. That is awesome. So that's just kind of a cool side note. I know 99% of people didn't care, but I'm a nerd like that, so I like stuff like that. All right, so with their second pick in the 2nd round, number 56, the Dolphins take Raekwon Davis, defensive tackle out of Alabama, and I'm actually a big fan of this pick. This seems like a reach for a lot of people, and I 100% understand that. But when I watched Raekwon Davis before the draft, I looked at a guy that fit really, really well in the Patriots type of scheme, a type of guy who is going to be able to eat up blocks. He's going to be able to hold people. He's very strong at the point of attack. No, this is not a defensive tackle that is going to get a ton of sacks. This is not a guy that's going to have flashy plays. This is a guy that's going to be a space heater in the middle and make room for the linebackers behind them. That's what the Patriots do. And that's what the Patriots do all the time. That they breed guys like that. They draft guys like Raekwon Davis in this 3rd, 4th, 2nd round, whatever it is, all the time, and get quality stars on their defensive line. And it's just the way they play defense. It's not about stats for them. It's about being part of the unit that allows other people to make the plays. And I think that's what Raekwon Davis is going to be really good at. I think this pick made a whole lot of sense for me personally, because the Dolphins are, this is essentially the Patriots South. I mean, that's what the Dolphins are. Whenever I compare every move to what the Patriots do, that's the reason. That the Dolphins are trying to build their football team the same way the Patriots built their team, and they're doing with a guy who's been on the inside and our head coach. It just makes too much sense. All these picks just feel like Patriots picks so far. So I'm actually really excited. I think all these guys are tailor-made for what the Patriots would do. And with their last pick on day 2, number 70 overall, they do take Myron Jones, safety out of Texas. Now this replaces, in a sense, the loss of Fitzpatrick when they traded Fitzpatrick to the Steelers early last season. Now, I was never a huge fan of that trade, but it was one of the situations where the player wanted to go. And the one silver lining I always had for that trade was the fact that safety can easily be found in the middle range. Brandon Jones, you're getting a guy who's kind of a utility knife at the position, which is kind of what you need, because that's what Fitzpatrick was going to be. He's not Fitzpatrick. I absolutely know that. He doesn't have the instincts. He doesn't have the athleticism. He is not Minkah Fitzpatrick in any way, shape, or form, but he is a utility knife in his own right. He's going to be able to do a lot of different things. He's going to be versatile in the secondary, which is what the Dolphins are looking for. They need guys that can play a lot of different positions in that secondary, do what is asked of them, and do it at a high level. So I do think Brandon Jones is another guy who's going to have an opportunity to start right away. But I think there's a possibility Brandon Jones will make the Dolphins organization look really, really smart for trading Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's a possibility. Again, I told you at the beginning of this video there was going to be a little bit of fan speak, and that's where it comes out right there. I'm a fan. Sue me. All right, so now we get to talk about my favorite part, which are the draft day trades. These are the things that we can actually assess right now, because let's be honest, nobody knows what's going to happen with these guys when they get on an NFL field. It's all projection. It's all hearsay. It's all what we think could happen. If for a fan like me, it's all just excitement, and hey, we got a lot of starters essentially. So the trades, the assets, the values, we can talk about, and we can make a real decision on if they played the draft well or if they didn't. And that's what we're going to talk about today with the Dolphins, because they made a lot of draft day moves, which makes me really excited. Their first move was at the back of the first round. This was the Jordan Love trade for the Packers. This was the Dolphins were the team that traded back with the Packers to number 30. So they went from 26 to 30 and were able to earn a fourth round pick, number 136 overall. So obviously that pick meant so much more for the Packers than it really did the Dolphins. I think it was a great deal, especially considering they took a guy that probably wasn't expected to go in the first round, and I can only assume this was their top guy on their board. So if that was the guy they were probably going to take anyway, why not move back and add assets and still get your guy? So to me, the Dolphins made a slam dunk pick right there to move down 4 spots and earn an extra asset in the 4th round. So what's really cool about that trade in the first round is how it affected a trade in the 4th round. And this is the stuff that really gets me excited. The Dolphins were able to trade up to the beginning of the 4th round to snag a guard out of Georgia. And what happened was there was a tackle and a guard that went in the first 3 or 4 picks of the 4th round, and the Dolphins realized there was a little bit of a mini run on offensive linemen at the beginning of the 4th round, and they were positioned at the very back of the 4th round. So what they did is they packaged the 4th round pick that they already had, number 141, and the 4th round pick that they earned from the Packers earlier in the draft, and were able to move up to 111. So essentially what that all means, the Dolphins were able to swap. They were able to move up about 30 picks in the 4th round in exchange for moving down 4 picks in the 1st round. That's insane value to me. That's awesome. That's the kind of stuff that just shows they're playing at a high level. The GM Chris Greer is making really smart draft decisions, and it continues here in the 5th round. The Dolphins were able to trade their 5th round pick, number 153, for running back Matt Breida. And to me, this is awesome because there was no running back to the level of Matt Breida left on the board. So they essentially drafted Matt Breida with a 5th round pick, which is just awesome. Now, granted, Matt Breida does have some injury issues, and there are questions about, how he's going to fit into the Dolphins scheme. But to me, this is not a Dolphins team that is ready to win right now. They need players at running back, but they don't need stars. And they have guys that are kind of cast off from other teams. They now have Jordan Howard and Matt Breida as their 1-2 punch. That's really not bad. As far as my favorite move, I think my favorite move was the pick in the 4th round where they were able to pair the 4th round pick that they had earned earlier in the draft along with their original to move up and take not only a position of need, but a position that was having a little bit of a run on it at that point in the draft. I think that was just excellent awareness and understanding of the way the draft works and usage of your assets, because at that point it's just assets, and I think they were able to get the most out of it there in that draft. As far as my least favorite move, I think Austin Jackson was a little bit of a reach at 18. I think there were more creative options at 18. I would have liked to have seen the Dolphins do something else. I think what I would have loved to have seen is for the Dolphins to have traded up and gotten Wirfs from the 49ers. It was clear that they were willing to make moves with the 49ers because they were able to make a trade in day 3 for Matt Breida. I think a deal was there to be made. The Dolphins obviously had the assets to do it and go get Wirfs. Wirfs is just he's a cut above what Austin Jackson is at this point. I think Wirfs is just a clear day 1 star at the tackle or guard position, wherever you want to put him, wherever you want to argue about him. But it would not surprise me a bit if the reason Tampa Bay traded up 1 spot to get Wirfs at 13 was because the Dolphins were probably in conversation with the 49ers to see if they can move ahead of Tampa Bay and get their guy. And the 49ers probably decided that they'd rather get the player they valued the most at 13, which was probably Kinlaw, because that's who they drafted at 14, and also gain a little bit of value by trading with Tampa Bay and giving them the first option at that trade. I obviously I can't be mad at the 49ers for making the best decision for themselves, but I can't imagine that there wasn't a deal to be made for the Dolphins. So that's my least favorite, and that is super nitpicky. That is just a possible trade that I think could have happened as my least favorite move. Really, I don't have a least favorite move for this team. I'm really excited about all the players they got. Some would say there were reaches here and there. I wouldn't. Maybe I'm a fan. Let me know what you guys think. Am I fanboying a little bit too much about the Dolphins? Let me know. As far as my biggest surprise, the biggest surprise was Noah in the first round. I was very surprised by that, of course, but I still like the pick, and I think it made sense for what the Dolphins are trying to do. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. And if you are waiting on your favorite team's draft review, it is coming. I promise. I'm going to have all 32 teams out in the next 3 or 4 days. So it is coming. And let me know what you guys think. If you're a Dolphins fan, if you're any other fan, let me know what you think about the Dolphins draft. Let me know in the comments below, and tell me if I'm crazy. Tell me if I'm just fanboyed for the past 25-30 minutes, or if I'm actually making a little bit of sense. All right, guys. Thanks. Peace out.